Welcome to What's on Tap, a show brought to you by Tapped In and created specifically for bar and restaurant professionals. Given the unprecedented situation we're facing from the coronavirus pandemic, Tapped In decided to do our part and create a show to provide information on resources and support available, create a platform to share ideas and perspectives, to retain the camaraderie during a time of separation, and to help raise funding for those in need. We're going to interview a series of people who can shine a light on all of these issues and more. And we might have a cocktail or two, because why not? We hope you find this show interesting and helpful.
2 of the 4 pillars of What's on Tap are to make sure industry people know about all the resources available to them and to shine a light on the good things that this group is doing for one another. On today's show, we get to talk about both of those. I sit down with co-founders of the Chicago-based 50/50 restaurant group, Scott Weiner and Greg Mohr, who have converted 2 of their 19 restaurants into take-home meal pickup sites for the restaurant industry and others in need. They've teamed up with several organizations, including the Lee Initiative, Maker's Mark, World Central Kitchen, and countless other individuals and companies to feed over 1,000 people every day during this pandemic. With a staggering 2/3 of bar and restaurant professionals out of work right now, a free and tasty meal sure can help out a lot. We also get the opportunity to talk to them about their meteoric growth from a single concept in 2008 to one of the most successful restaurant groups in Chicago today. Enjoy. We're sitting down with Greg Mohr and Scott Weiner, co-founders of the 50/50 restaurant group, which to my surprise is a lot bigger than the 50/50. I knew you guys had a couple concepts, but we'll get into all of them in a few moments here. But you guys are rolling deep with that, so congrats. And that's been a short period of time. I remember when you opened the 50/50. Was that 2008? Or
2008, yeah.
Yeah. So good job for that. Before we get to those, the main reason I wanted to speak with you too, because I heard what you're doing with the Lee Initiative and feeding the restaurant industry, and that's really one of the pillars of What's on Tap. Mm-hmm. It's to provide information about resources that are available to restaurant people that have been displaced, whether they're owners or busboys, servers, and anywhere in between. So that's a huge initiative, and then I find out you guys have several of those going on. So right. I think that's a great place to start. So the first one, the Lee Initiative, how did that come about? What does that mean for restaurant people? How can they get help?
A local tech CEO, a friend of ours, does a lot of business with us, and vice versa. I reached out and he's like, listen, during this time when there's a downturn like this, my business actually does a lot better. And it's like, I want to help you and help your employees and help the community. So reached out, we talked through some ways to start serving meals. Came to the number of about 400 to 500 meals a day out of one of our properties, and it kind of went from there. And because we were early to do it, right around the time we heard about the Lee Initiative, also working with at the time One-Off Hospitality, there was a lot of press behind it, and from there other groups just kind of started reaching out to us and seeing how they could get involved and help us to be able to create more meals for more people that needed it. So.
And we wanted to, from the get-go, right when we got the funding from our friend and the tech CEO, we immediately said, all right, we have this opportunity. Let's see if we can grow this as much as possible. And we didn't really know what that meant, but it kind of as a group and with our leadership team that we have within our company, we're always looking for ways to grow, and whether that be more restaurants or whatever it is. So we're like, all right, we'll start here and we'll see what else we can do, because our main goal was to employ as many people as possible. And so we had this chance, and we knew that if we grew it, we could keep bringing more and more people back.
How late into the official shutdown before the tech CEO reached out to you guys? Was
a day, 2 days?
It was like a day, yeah. We were talking, this is a business that we bring like weekly lunches to his employees. So, we had been talking previously because he said, hey, Scott, I'm closing down the offices. Yeah. So we want to cancel our meals going forward. And, so we were on top of things and communicating during this. And, without him right now, I mean, it would have been a different restaurant group for us.
Right. And because of that, then, the one-off they shut down their operations for Lee Initiative, and so Lee Initiative reached out to us, and because we were already producing, we're like, yes, let's go. And then from there, like Scott said, other people were looking. People had funds and people wanted to do things, but they didn't know how to do it. So they started looking to us, and we've had countless number of organizations, charities, churches, you name it, come to us. And sometimes it's just a one-time thing, a one-day thing. Other ones are longer than that, or the National Guard, or other people coming in and just needing meals. So it's been great for us.
We also we were also helping raise funds as well.
Right.
We've been auctioning things off, donating stuff. We donated a bottle of Pappy to I think this was Lee Initiative, right?
That was the initiative, yeah.
Where the highest bidder got this bottle, and so we've done a lot to also.
You know how much that went for, or has it been?
Went for $1,500.
So that's a great question though. Like how much longer can you guys sustain these initiatives? Like, is the investor or other funders, if this goes on for much longer, is there an end of the rope?
We have private donations coming in through our fund that has been helping out tremendously. The tech CEO, he seems pretty committed to this for the long haul, which is incredible. The Lee Initiative, they're doing everything they can to get monetary donations and bring in food donations from purveyors. And there are food banks and all these other places that they're so full of food that's going to waste because everything shut down at once and everything was sitting there ready to be produced, and now they have nowhere to put it. So we're trying to get as much as we can and produce as much as we can before that happens, and that's why we're constantly pushing to do more meals.
And are those two initiatives basically combined then? Or because I think one had more of a just anybody, you said, could come and get fed, and the other one was much more specific to the restaurant industry.
So the one for anybody, that's about 500 meals a day is at 50/50 on Division. That's our original restaurant. And then the Lee Initiative is out of Westtown Bakery on Chicago Avenue. And that one is for industry people, and that one has groceries included also. Wow. And that was originally, the Lee Initiative wanted 200 meals a day. We're up to 300 plus a day, and we're trying to grow that as we go.
So do they have to, prove that they're industry? They show up, do they get fed? Obviously, we want industry people, like, when you get the show your pay stub type thing.
Right. I mean, technically, yes, you should be, but we are no contact. We want people we set it up, they come and grab it and go. We don't want any lines. We don't want people hanging out. We don't want any. We'd love to talk to people and have a conversation, but we just can't do that right now. So it's take it and go.
So what about the timing and the place? You said the one is at 50/50 and the other is at Westtown Bakery. Days and times that they can pick up food.
So 50/50 is 4:30 till 6:30 every day except for Monday, and the Lee Initiative at Westtown is 7 days a week, same time period.
And are you finding yourself running out of food, like early at all, or like are you?
We first started at both locations. We weren't going through all the meals, but we had charities coming to pick those up and then feeding those charities. Now we're running out pretty quickly, like within an hour and a half. So obviously as time goes on, people are hurting a little bit more for money and for food. And the word's spreading. We have people coming from all over the city at this point, which is encouraging. It also, it's sad too, but it feels really, really, really good that we're here, and we have people coming back daily or a couple times a week, and so we're helping people. It feels good. They know that there's support here, so we'll just keep growing it.
That has to be the silver lining of all this too, so seeing the industry kind of come together and coalesce and give back. Those who can, those who can't are getting help that they need.
Yeah.
Obviously there's more could be done, but thank you both for stepping up and doing what you're doing.
Yeah, I think in general Chicago has been a unique market in that this industry has been so tight-knit, and everyone either collaborates or helps each other out or does things. So Chicago's pretty special when it comes to that.
And you guys have we're here at the Westtown Bakery, you have turned this into a production facility. There's literally pallets on the floor,
right.
Hundreds of pounds of onions sitting over there.
Right.
It's
right. Right, it's crazy. And then, next door at Roots Pizza, there are even more pallets sitting there waiting to be broken down. We're lucky over there. We have garage doors for windows that we can open up and just bring them in. So then we'll break them down and bring them over here.
And so if people want to help support that, they can donate to the Lee Initiative. So that's LEE initiative.kindful.com. Any other ways that they could donate to the other program?
They can donate directly to our food drive at the5050.com/food donation. And then that goes into our funds where we buy just more food or bring more people in and things like that.
And then you've got the Jose Andres or World Central Kitchen.
Right.
Tell me how that came about.
That one was a friend of ours and chef Lamar Mohr. He's incredible, great dude. We've known him for I don't even know how long.
9-10 years.
Yeah, 9-10 years.
Met him when he was with Soldier Field. We were a wholesale account. Met him on a sales pitch.
Yeah. And he got linked up with Jose Andres, and they wanted to do something with him, and he immediately called us. We already collaborated on at Roots Pizza. We have Chef Series pizzas, and chefs from all over the city do pizzas, and then they're on the menu for a year. And he's currently on the menu. So we've been working with him on that, and so he reached out to us and said, "Hey, I have this opportunity, but I need some help with it, and I'd like to join you guys and do this thing." And so we're like, "Man, that's Chef Jose Andres he's the man. He's as big as you can get, especially in times like this. Like he's the ultimate." So, just me saying that right now gives me chills. So. It was a really, really big deal for us, and of course we're going to do whatever we can, and to get any kind of guidance and to learn from that organization is a huge deal for us. So
because he steps in whenever there's a natural disaster, whether it's a hurricane in Puerto Rico or it's Hurricane Sandy or whatnot, he seems to be there. His organization is
incredible.
He's an amazing human being.
And so what does that initiative look like for you guys? What are you doing? Who are you helping? How's it getting out there?
So it changed. Those are all hospital workers. So there's different hospitals that it happens at. We're Lamar and our crew we're producing that out of the Roots in Old Town, and they I think it's 300 meals a few times a week, and it's a different hospital every week.
So you guys are cranking out how many meals a day from all these initiatives and all your different stores, like the donated meals?
We're at about 1,200 a day. So yeah, it's awesome. We're hopefully within the next week we'll be at about 1,500.
Is that kind of capacity? Is that like where you start to split?
No, we have so many restaurants that aren't open right now. If we need to open more, we'll open more.
Sure.
We want to get as big as we can. Like I said, it's for us. Ultimately, it's all about getting our people back to work. We had to furlough 600 people. We've currently got about 60 plus back, somewhere around there. So we got some work to do. So the more meals we have, the more people we bring back, and we got to get our family back. So we're working on it.
We're feeding people, but honestly, it's the people raising the money that's allowing us to serve this. Those are the people they're the heroes.
They are the heroes.
We're using that money for a good cause, but it's the people behind it Jose Andres doesn't need to be doing this. He's mobilizing restaurants all throughout New York right now to do this. It's the local tech CEO, it's Edward Lee. Another guy that doesn't need to be doing this, but they're there for the industry. So that's really what's given us this ability.
And even the tech CEO, he didn't want to be named.
I just think that's one of the most amazing things. Doesn't want anything in return, just sees where he can help and how he can help, and just does it. It's pretty awesome.
I'll say all of these initiatives, from the Lee initiative to the tech CEO, there's accountability. We're sending numbers every day. We're showing our labor. We're sending receipts for stuff. So it's not just like, here's the money, go spend it, right? There's structure to this, but yeah, nobody's out there trying to get the credit for it, in my opinion.
There's people behind it, and I think some of the best donations that we get are the $5 and $10 ones, because people are just doing what they can, and that it shows.
the intent.
Yeah, and that means something. They don't have to do that, and we get a lot of those, and it's something special. Like, people are doing what they can do.
Bring us back to the 50-50. Just want to dig a little bit into how that came about, how you guys knew each other, how long had you been talking about this, and how the concept came to be.
So Greg and I worked together at Joe's Stone Crab in Chicago. We started there the same day. We instantly kind of hit it off. 3-some years later, and Greg was my boss. I was technically like number 3 on the totem pole, so I knew I had a long way to go to be a GM, right? And I started thinking about, I think I was 25. I was like, I know everything. I'm gonna do my own thing. This is like 2007, and eventually, put something together with Greg. And
No, I'll tell this because you're killing it, because basically what he did. So I was the GM, he was the assistant GM, and at that time we're running the I think the 8th highest grossing independent restaurant in the country. I think he was 25, I was 27 or something like that. I mean, we're young bucks. If you look around at all the other restaurants and the people in our positions, they're all old dudes. Yeah. And we're these young guys. And so he comes to me and he's like, hey, let's do our own thing. I'm like, are you out of your freaking mind? We're killing it right now. Like, what are you doing? And so he badgered me for months about this. And finally I was like, all right, I'll sit down with you. We'll write a business plan. It sounds like just a fun exercise to do anyway, So we did that, and then the day we finished, he's like, all right, let's do this. I'm like, you're out of your damn mind. And then he goes, so he badgered me for months about that. And then, so finally I was like, listen, if the first 3 people we go to for money, give us money, like invest money with us, I'll do it. And I'm from the Quad Cities. People don't have money. It's not like a culture there where you go and start businesses. He's from the North Shore, and it's in his blood to go be an entrepreneur. It's just how he was raised. His dad owns a business. Like, it's just in him. So I'm thinking 3 people are never going to give us money. We're asking for like $25,000 or something like that. And I think the first 7 people we went to gave us money, and I'm like, shit, I gotta quit my job, And I remember this to this day. I'm going hiking with my parents in I think Montana or something, and I had to break it to them that I was quitting my job.
Amazing job that would be impossible for anyone to get at your age.
Right. And I told them.
Mortgage pretty much signed.
Yeah, we had all the things in place. And I told him, and it was silent for probably 30 seconds in the car. And my mom and my stepdad, they know us. Like, they know that we when we put our minds to something, we'll get it done.
So the family, you guys were.
Oh yeah, they know. Oh yeah,
we're close.
Yeah. And so they were like, okay, well, all right, you guys do it. And so 50-50, we knew we had to do somewhat of a, I don't want to say safe concept, but we couldn't get super crazy, being our first. And so we wanted to do a sports bar, and at that time an upscale sports bar was a newer thing. Sure. And we wanted to stay true to the way we like doing food, which is from scratch every single day. So we did that, and then it
was our comfort food, because we're eating stone crab and lobster, and we're buying sockeye salmon the day it's on the market, and on our days off, at least me, I was eating wings.
We're eating wings and burgers. That was our happy place.
So it's just simple, really highly sourced food with, just food you could be proud of, that anybody can eat and feel like they had a great meal at. So that got us to March of 2008 is when we opened. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So believe it or not, this isn't our first time we've seen the economy go off a cliff.
Yeah.
Right. Because we were so focused on the food aspect of it, when the economy took a crap, everyone kind of took a step down from where they were eating. They went down a notch or two, and we were kind of in a sweet spot of, we were a sports bar, but we also did really good food. So people felt comfortable going there and having good food, but also having it in an atmosphere that was great, and it was cheaper. So it worked.
We threw a party every night. We had a lot of fun.
I've been a couple of those.
We were so young, and we weren't always getting paid. We did buy the property, and early on our mentality was, we're not going to put any money into a building we don't own. So our first 3 projects, we bought real estate. They were a lot harder as a result. We were way over leveraged at times, especially with Westtown Bakery and Roots.
But we also had to. That's also why we were in the neighborhoods. We were out. We weren't downtown. We stayed out here because we wanted to live by this model of buying the real estate. Investing in And at this point, we bought in the right places.
We did well. So we grew quick because we also then took a lot of management agreements where we would go into hotels or properties where we don't have to put capital in, and it helped us expand the business in a pretty safe and conservative way. Build
to us, conservative to us, not to most people.
And then we've continued buying more real estate. We actually leased our first place last year, which was our 3rd Roots location in a concept called Utopian Tailgate at Piper's Alley. We partnered with Second City, the improv institution on that. It's where we're sitting right now. This is stressful, obviously, and I know that we're going to be able to kind of get back because the management agreements, you have so many partners in those. Like everyone's interests are aligned, especially in the hotel, and getting us back on our feet. Our banks are very much interested in us getting back on our feet in our mortgages, and we pay down principal every month. So that's kind of been how we've expanded, and certain projects have been the hotel needs this kind of place. So we said, all right, well, let's figure out how to do a cocktail lounge, and it's forced us to do new projects. I think we know what we're best at though, but we've had some projects that have been harder than others for sure.
Have any of them shut down?
No, we've never closed anything before.
Do you have the same backers for each location then, or do you have to take less and less because now you can fund it from different sources?
No. We have a lot of backers. Some have been with us day one. At a certain point though, a project started going from $1.5 million to $9 million to open. So we've had to go out for a lot more backers, and backers that are in different financial positions. Early on, there was a lot of friends and family that could afford to be in, and today, it's expensive. I would say we still don't. We don't seem to be owning any more of the businesses than we used to.
No, that's true. But we have always said that we'd rather own smaller portions of more places because we're, when we open other places, we have a lot of people that amazing people that work for us, and they get to kind of live out their passion as far as the concepts that we do. And so, we'll take a smaller chunk to be able to realize some other people's dreams. Our group right now is the strongest that it's ever been. We have the best people that we've ever had, and we operate almost seamlessly with everyone that we have here. And so it's easier to grow now, and people have things that they want to do too. And so
there's a unified voice in how we operate. And we've always had to try to explain to people why we're called the 50-50 and how me and him work together. It doesn't work the same way anymore. Early on it was, I was the numbers guy and I was more back of the house driven, and Greg was very culture and aesthetics, and to a certain extent we still operate in that framework, but
now we have a leadership team. There's 6 of us, and everyone has an equal vote. We meet twice a week. We discuss everything. We vote on everything, and we're up to date on everything.
Yeah, even numbers. How often is it 3-3?
We usually come to the conclusion, and the best part about it is, no matter what the decision is, we all then, coming out of that meeting, we're all 100% on board with that decision, which is the best. So I think for us, in the earlier days, and by that I mean up till 2 years ago, it was just he and I making the decisions, and we feel like we make good decisions together because we're very opposite people. But having more people involved in those decisions, I think we make, more sound decisions at this point.
We outgrew it where I was just, I think I knew 2 years ago that I was unable to operate at the same level I had been in the first 10 years of the company, or it's just literally 12 years now, right? I mean, I knew 2 years ago that I wasn't operating the same way, and I was making so many decisions that I felt like I was always just shooting from the hip. And I thought they were the right decisions, and they may be the right decisions, but it was just like we both were taking on so much that we didn't have time to talk through everything together. And
You have time to process everything. You have to shoot from the hip with that structure. It's just
and you get decision fatigue. Like you just, at some point, you're making decisions just to get through the amount of decisions that you have to make, which isn't the best way.
We weren't able to coach as well. They say you're working in the business and not on the business, and I think that's been the biggest change for us the last year, realistically.
So obviously this is a very different time for this pandemic, but before that, where are you spending your times? Is it like the newest concept? Do you bounce around? Are you in the office? Are you working the floor?
So I would always, and still do, spend time on the new projects, the design, the construction, concepting, stuff like that. And Scott has a hand in that also, but he kind of centralizes himself, and he goes around all the restaurants, but he centralizes himself in our corporate office, which is in this building, and he kind of facilitates all of the things. Like he for basically the entire history of the company has kind of held everything together in that way. So
there's checks and balances on it all, though. Like there's, for example, as he's working on concepting, I'm putting together the financials and the business plan.
Right.
So I have to write that into a story to go raise the capital. So
right.
So there's always in decisions I'm making, there's always like the back and forth, and but right now I would say before this all happened, we've been working on just a lot of infrastructure, the new projects. At one point I think we had 10 in the pipeline. I think that's probably down to 3 or 4, maybe
5 or 6, yeah.
And we raised, I feel like the new projects in the last year and a half, we raised something like $17 million. So that's including bank money too. But so I spent a lot of money or a lot of time raising capital, and I feel like sometimes that's a full-time job. And we've got people in this group now that are just stepping up, and it's just we're more organized now. Where I don't need to make the decisions anymore. I just, to a certain extent, have to kind of hold accountability there, and I haven't even had to do that as much.
So what was the first concept after the 50-50, and what was the process of coming up with that versus now? Because you've got this many in the pipeline, you've got to have probably a different process that.
So this is the second one was his hometown food.
Yeah.
Roots Pizza. Right. And we say now everybody's got a roots, right? You grew up eating a pizza somewhere. That was your place. That was your roots. And they had, mozzarella sticks. They had stuff everyone can relate to. But this was his roots. So in the Quad Cities, he would just call it pizza. But the reality is Quad Cities pizza is its whole other thing. And I was stubborn as I can be at times, and I was like, yeah, Chicago doesn't need your pizza.
Right.
That was the question for me, right?
Yeah.
It's first of all, what is Quad City pizza? And second of all, were you scared the deep dish the Chicago folk are gonna?
Yeah, I never knew. I didn't know that the Quad Cities had a style, and no one in the Quad Cities knew we had a style either. I came to Chicago. I realized that there wasn't my style of pizza. There wasn't taco pizza. There wasn't a lot of these things, and so I would tell him about it. He'd be yeah, whatever, and he would come home, and we'd go back to my parents, and when we would do that, I'd take him to places. I'm like, just try this. Is it different enough? And he ate it, and he's like, yeah. And then we took some other people back, and yeah, this is something different. It's something that can work. And then, as we'd
leave Chicago at 7, 8 o'clock at night, get out, we'd have some fun. And the best time to try pizza, I feel is when you're hungover. So he knew how to play me. He had it perfect.
Yeah.
It's true. I knew what I was doing.
We got to get prepped for tomorrow's research, so we got to go out tonight.
Yeah. But as far as bringing pizza to Chicago, it never really hit me until the place was built. We were training people week before open, and I was like, oh shit. We're opening a pizza place in Chicago. What the fuck are we doing? This is so stupid. And I had a meltdown. And then, we opened the doors, and luckily there are a ridiculous amount of people from the Quad Cities in Chicago. Okay. And so they heard that this was happening. and the place was just filled up right away. So it was, thankfully.
It was tough to keep up. And
Yeah.
And it wasn't, we always say we've got the best peripherals of any pizza menu. It's stuff everyone can relate to, right? We make mozzarella sticks, but we make mozzarella. We buy the curd, we hand stretch it, we roll it. We serve spaghetti, but we make fresh pasta.
I guarantee not many pizza joints in the city are making their own lots.
No, none of them are.
Absolutely
I mean, you had to go to fine dining to get fresh mozzarella.
Yeah.
So we figured out a way, a lot of it just through systems and passion for food, to make this food approachable and where anyone could get it, and literally families. I don't think I had fresh mozzarella until I was like 20.
I didn't until I was in Chicago. So
I mean, so you've got like 4-year-old kids that like beg their parents to take them to Roots, and to that point, we thought we were opening up a bar.
We did. We built it to handle crowds like kind of like that were at 50/50, and then all of a sudden, we were young, we were single, didn't have kids or anything like that, and all of a sudden the place is jammed with kids. We didn't even know like kids lived in this neighborhood. That's how just like blind we were to it. And then all of a sudden we're full at like 4 o'clock, and then we have the 4 to 6 o'clock is families, and then after that everyone else just normal dining would come in. So we were like, holy crap, this place is jamming.
The families are the most loyal customers you'll ever have.
Yeah.
Right.
They come sometimes weekly, and if they don't come, they're ordering from you. I mean, once they feel safe, like your food is safe, it's sanitary, like
Right.
and then it's crazy with pizza places, right? Because the ones we grew up on, it's like you want to take your kids there at some point.
Yeah.
Right. The thing that I think is one of the coolest is now this is going to be their hometown pizza, like their roots.
And you have that reputation. I know this because when my niece and nephew came down a while ago, we were looking for a restaurant to take them to, and Roots popped up. So it's where we went. So.
Yeah.
It's been it's been like the steady just place that keeps on rolling, and right now during the shutdown it maintains that. It's there haven't been too many hours lost there, especially in the kitchen.
Pizza, especially, that's just it's kind of known to be a deliverable food. So.
Yeah.
Especially this pizza. This pizza delivers, I think, extraordinarily well, because it's not deep dish where it's like, don't cut it, and the grease gets everywhere. And it's also not like the wood fire where it's so thin that by the time you get it, it's like soggy.
Yeah.
Like this is like the perfect pizza for delivery. And there's a lot of cheese on this pizza, which
A lot
I
of
feel like
cheese.
insulates it,
Yeah.
but it's a very low fat cheese, so it doesn't it's not like a grease bomb. It's worked out more than we're not geniuses in any way, shape, or form.
We're
lucky at least.
We're
Yeah,
lucky.
This one was a lucky thing for us, and
Yeah.
there's a lot of things we can do better, and we will do better, and we could have done better. Roots has been, steady and consistent for us.
How long after 50/50 was the first route, and then how did things kind of tumble after that? Because
It was
Yeah,
March of '08, and we opened in Memorial Day of '11.
Yep.
But this was like a good, it was wild. Like right after the end of the Great Recession, you can get a construction project done in like 6 months.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it was super easy.
That was a 5.5 month build, and I mean, it was complete gut.
Complete gut.
Everything.
We dug out 3 or 4 feet in the basement, and it was these 3 guys that, because the basement down there you could barely stand up in, and it was like basically a dirt floor. So they tore it up, and they had a guy with a wheelbarrow that would go up this ramp, and they did this for weeks. And this guy, I go down there like they're getting towards the end of it, and the big guy puts his arm around me. He's like, "My wife wants to thank you." I'm like, "Why?" He's like, "I've lost 50 pounds doing this project." And he did. Like, he shrunk. He was this big fat dude, and he had shrunk because he'd just been doing wheelbarrows of dirt. And I'm like, "Oh my God, that's crazy." But yeah, it was a complete gut. And then we got to use all of the wood that we gutted and that's all the tables, the bar, the booths, everything is made out of that wood, which is 100-and-some-year-old wood.
It's the
which
old
is pretty
stuff.
cool.
That building had never been touched before.
Yeah.
I mean, it's awesome. Like a table there weighs like 150 pounds because
Yeah.
this wood is just like
Old
it's
wood.
made well. Yeah.
Yeah. 3 months later was the bakery.
Oh, wow.
So we were on construction on both of these at the same time.
Yeah. So we literally opened 2 restaurants. We opened them 3 months away from each other, but
Yeah.
we built out completely Same thing. This was, and then Homestead on the Roof, which came the next summer. 9 months. I haven't opened up one restaurant with you in the last. Well, they've only been with you, but we haven't built out a restaurant that took less than a year ever since.
Yeah, well,
maybe
now,
Berkshire Room.
Now it takes
forever, and the cost is so much more. It's ridiculous.
Twice the cost.
What goes in the additional cost?
Well, because everyone's building, so just to get trades to show up to the job these days is ridiculous. Like they'll get something that pays better somewhere else and then just go to that job for the day or whatever it is.
It's just easier.
And and just the tariffs, the cost of steel, the cost of everything is ridiculous. So everything just costs a lot.
I think it's probably 25 to 30% more. I don't know what things will be like after this is all done.
right.
There's always winners and losers. When the economy's good, there's somebody who's winning, there's somebody who's being left out. When the economy's bad, other people rise, other people fall. It's always
Right.
interesting to see.
It is.
We were talking to people who were doing online ordering,
Mhm.
and that's obviously through the roof.
Yeah.
But another company that does specifically catering, online ordering, but for large groups, tanked. Like,
Yeah.
who'd have
Yeah.
guessed
Right.
where those divisions
I
really
know.
come from? So.
I know.
Roots day one, we always said we're gonna nail delivery. Both Roots are in one of the big third-party deliveries, like top 10 in the city so we approached that early on as a part of our infrastructure, and we built out our own platforms. Like the Roots Pizza app has probably saved us during this shutdown, probably at this point about $40,000 in fees to third-party operators.
So what percent comes through your app versus third parties?
Right now, it's maybe 50%,
Okay.
which has grown. Our app is, we've taken it up a notch in the last probably 6 months.
Well, it's new too. It's newish.
It's
so
newish.
You built it from scratch, like custom, or is there a service that?
It's custom. We worked with NCR, also known as National Cash Register, so they know a few things about doing that. And that's Aloha. That's our POS system. But it took a year to build. We had the infrastructure. Otherwise, it probably would have taken longer. But yeah, if we didn't have that, you figure we would have probably paid $40,000 out to a third party last month.
All right.
And I think it's really important for the listeners to know, because even restaurant workers might not know this, but if you order through these other third parties, and I won't name the names because I work with them as well, but yeah, they charge up to 30%, sometimes more. And usually, if you're ordering, even if you go to the restaurant's website first and click on a link there, you're gonna have to pay less. Or if you have your own app, you're not paying anything. So please do go. If you know where you want to order, go to that website first and try to order through that.
I don't want to get too political on here, and this is something I'm passionate about, this thing, but I don't think most people know that they don't charge 30% more. They charge the restaurant 30% of what you spend. So, I'm a big proponent that money that, especially right now, like support local, right? But the money that's spent in the restaurants and that goes direct to us stays in this community. Greg and I don't have accounts in the Caymans or investors in, the UK. And I would say, like, some of these bigger companies, third parties, like, that money's not staying in Chicago, and it's something to consider as we need to rebuild our economy here.
Yeah.
the other side of it is most of those have their own drivers. They're not our drivers. We train our drivers. We have standards. We have all kinds of things, and they don't. So they're taking our product and delivering it. We don't know what we don't have any control over that, and that we don't like that. It scares us. Restaurants use these services because they have to, essentially. It's ease of use for the user. They go to one place, they get to look at all the things, all the restaurants. So we get it. And originally, when they first started, it was a good thing, and then they got greedy, and then it got kind of bad. So now we are where we are. So we'll see what happens.
To his point, our drivers are employees. They're covered under our workman's comp, our business insurance. We subsidize their benefits and their health insurance. So there's a difference, and some of the third-party drivers may have just taken a customer in their car and then they're going to take your food. So it's just something to consider.
Yes.
And I think there's definitely going to be something that changes coming out of this too, because of the microscope that's been put on delivery and online ordering, and it exemplified what was already trending. And saying, all right, this isn't working for some of these small independents. You guys were fortunate enough to be able to build your own app and be able to kind of reduce your bleed on that, but some aren't. They're just stuck with these third parties.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's like they have to make that decision. Is it even worth selling this food today?
Right.
And if they did have dine-in guests, then you're saying, well, we're getting backed up for dine-in guests for basically making no money on these deliveries. So
Correct.
I hope that there's a reckoning in that area.
And I want people to understand that it's not like, so for us, a lot of our places, it didn't start off at 30% cost to us. We got in, originally it was $5 a delivery, $3 a delivery, and then it kept going up and up and up and up. And so you have all these people, then all these customers that you have that use that, and they order through you, and they're regular customers. So if you're not on that site anymore, they just look past and they order something else. And so it's people are like, well, why would you ever sign up for something like that? It's like, well, it didn't all happen at once. It kept going up and up and up, kind of like your cable bill, and then right.
It starts from like if somebody searches for pizza delivery Chicago, if they pop up, fine. What I don't like is when I'm spending money on AdWords for Roots Pizza Chicago and they're bidding against my own name to drive them to their website. That's the stuff that bothers me.
Right.
So
There's a lot of weird things happening, even like creating like spoof websites to be able to get, again, it's competing against the actual restaurants with a fake website to get that business, because they'll charge more if they can get you the business for somebody who's already looking for your restaurant.
Right, exactly.
I know San Francisco passed an emergency ordinance. New York has something in council, and pretty sure today Chicago is going to introduce an ordinance. So there's going to be some changes. We'll see where it goes.
Switching gears a little, just back to, I want to touch on all the different concepts you guys have. You mentioned the Berkshire Room, which is your cocktail bar, and the Sixth.
So it was 50-50, Roots, the original Roots, Westtown Bakery, Homestead. Then we got a deal to go to do Berkshire Room at the Acme Hotel, and within that one we also put a Westtown Bakery, and then we have a place, one of our favorite places of all of them, Bunny Slope in the basement, which is a hot tub. It was an old hot tub room in the hotel, and the owners kept telling us to do something with it, and we didn't want to. And then they said, well, we'll pay for it. And we're like, all right, let's do it.
Well, we
so
didn't want to. We just didn't want to pay for it.
Correct. We had to play that game. So then we came up with a place called the Bunny Slope, which is it's a après-ski themed ski lodge. And it's private parties only.
It's Chicago's #1 après-ski lodge.
It is. It's the only, but it is #1. So it's basically, we took the sauna. There was a big hot tub room and a sauna. Inside the sauna, we cut out a hole to overlook the hot tub and put a bar in there. So basically, you rent it out, and you have a private hot tub room that looks like a ski lodge. Has a chairlift in it, all kinds of stuff. It's pretty cool. And then you just have private parties in there. And it's a place you never really hear about, because you can't just go visit it. You have to book a party. Like we don't go in there when it's open, because that'd be creepy for us to stand there and like.
It's awkward when we work the room there.
Yeah. You can't do that. But it is probably one of the most fun places you can go. So anyway, we have that.
And we did Roots 2.
Yeah, we did Roots 2, which is in Lincoln Square on Lawrence, and next to that is the Sixth. After that, we went to Steadfast, which is in the Loop in the Kimpton Gray Hotel. Then after that, where are we at?
Dana Hotel, Portsmouth, Apogee,
Right.
and Leviathan.
At the Dana, which is now Eurostars.
Right now, the Eurostars, Mag Mile.
Yeah. So then from there, was it 90th?
90th Meridian.
90th
Or was
Meridian.
it Utopian Tailgate?
No, 90th first. 90th Meridian, which is in the Loop.
Yeah, it's in the Wintrust building.
Wintrust building.
It's a cool lunch, happy hour place. it's an awesome restaurant. It's not on the street, so Wintrust is probably our best customer there.
Yeah.
But a lot of people come from the area.
So it is open to the public, though. You just don't have the street presence.
Yeah.
It's a tough lunch reservation. Before this all ended, we were seeing our happy hour really take off, and it's we'll see where we'll probably have to start from scratch. I feel like rebuilding that once this reopens when it's nice out.
But it's a great concept. It's a good one.
Awesome spot. And then Utopian Tailgate was kind of like last year, like the crown jewel.
Yeah.
I mean, we only had a month of summer, and it was wild.
That's right at the Second City or in Wells Street.
Yeah. That one, the consumption of White Claw was on a different level. We were getting 2.5 pallets twice a week of White Claw, mostly mango, black cherry. I never liked White Claw until there. And now we and to see Scott drinking White Claw, he's a bourbon, shots of bourbon all day and slam a beer just to do something in between.
Yeah.
It's only when I'm inside, though. When I'm an outside drinker, it's
I
drink tequila and I chase it with White Claw.
There you go.
Yes. Yeah, but that was funny. And then we have a Roots handmade pizza there, also on the ground floor. And we are partners with Second City. We took over their restaurant 1959. Sorry. And then we have a fourth Roots under construction.
Well, actually, right before this happened, we took over View.
Oh, yeah.
In the South Loop.
We're in the South Loop?
So it's above. There's a Hilton. It's on like Cermak.
3 different hotels. It's right across the street from McCormick. And ownership just wanted a new group to come in and do some stuff. So we had just literally taken it over and to do some updates on it and stuff like that to change it around.
It's First Hospitality, a local Chicago group, and then the McHugh is involved in that. So I mean, really great people involved in this project.
Really great
and,
people.
We were just getting in there. I think we were in there for a week before we had to shut it down.
Right.
Is that before you had to shut down for the pandemic?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we literally.
I thought you had like that really long digital sign. There's like a fireplace or something.
Yeah. There's two on either side. There's 2 giant outdoor areas. Then the middle is it's beautiful. It's a great place, and we were brought in to change it up a little bit. So we're going to redo the inside, but we are going to go through this summer planning and get through like the great tourism and conventions and all the things, and that didn't happen. So, but that's another one that's happening. And then we have a 10,000 square foot Roots in the South Loop. That's 2 stories. The second floor has a giant retractable roof. It's like a giant greenhouse. It's gorgeous. Yeah. And that's kind of
same spot of the South Loop? Or?
No, it's
Dearborn, Polk, and Federal. It's right outside Printers Row.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Dearborn Station, but it's close to View.
I used to live right there.
Yeah.
I was there at the time. Yeah.
It was just a grassy knoll. It was nothing there for.
It was the Christmas tree lot.
Christmas tree lot,
Sure.
and the dog pooping lot.
On that same building there, just I think 640 South Federal.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So we're still on pace to open this in probably July.
It's kind of interesting with the South Loop because not a lot of things stick. There's a ton of people, there's a ton of high rises, but there's not a lot of.
Heard that.
You know what though?
Thanks for reminding us.
We have we have been looking in that area for 6 or 7 years, and we mainly because of Roots, we wanted to piece together another part of the delivery area for Chicago, so we'd have it all covered with all these routes. And looking down there, and the problem is, like, if you want to buy a building, that's hard to do down there. And the few that we found, we'd find a 2-story building, but there's air rights for 7 floors. You have to pay for all 7 floors. Like it's astronomical, the cost. And then if you
13 floors.
So if you could find a place to lease, there's very, very few that are A, big enough, and B, if they're not already outfitted for a restaurant, you have to run black iron to the roof, which is what you need for exhaust, and that's very expensive. And then those buildings are so tall that you have to go up, like 20, 30, 40, 50 floors, and economics are out. So it's hard for restaurants to get into that area.
So what made the spot you found acceptable?
So
Crappy soil.
yeah,
Chicago soil.
we were approached by 2 companies that own it, and they're like, they were I think the 14th or 15th company to have owned it over the last 20 or 30 years. No one's ever built on it, and it's because there's an old water tunnel or train tunnel or some tunnel 200 feet down, and so you either have to dig down, take it out, or go down and fill it in. And so all of these companies that have bought it, they all think they have the answer. They get to it, and then they figure out we don't have the answer. So again, the economics are off. So we were approached to basically partner with them to build a restaurant on it. And Scott, being Scott, started doing numbers and was like, what the hell do we need them for? So we bought out one of the partners and kept the construction partner. And so now it's us and them that own it. And so now we have an extremely unique situation where we have a freestanding 2-story building down there that's all restaurant. So it's super unique and very cool.
It's an anchor to that area, and that's sort of what we look for. And like we feel like our first roots, like both of our roots actually, they literally like they're part of the community. They literally anchor the community. And they're bigger places we like to have big windows where people can feel, like they're just around people and outside at the same time. It was just the perfect property.
Yeah,
it was expensive. This is the most expensive project we've ever done. But I mean, we built a building from the ground up.
You know so much more now.
We own the property in a place where that's crazy, So
it's probably depreciated about 75% since the shutdown. But I mean, hey, we'll figure it out.
So let's talk about the shutdown. How were your concepts doing February, early March? Were you trending down? Were you going strong?
So we've got, we have a different perspective, right? Because we have restaurants downtown in the Loop, which do tremendous business during October, November, December. And everybody, I feel like, is pretty slow January, February. Yeah. But then our neighborhood places.
Waiting for March,
Right.
It's supposed to be the savior.
Our neighborhood places, they don't do as well during the holiday season, but they're just sort of steady wins the race, right? And the same goes for January and February. They don't have these tremendous downturns, so they're always decent. But we typically aren't making money in January and February, but we're not always losing a lot either. March is when we start really becoming cash flow positive, and we typically maintain that level until about September. So we were doing okay. I would say we're relatively conservative with our capital. We had money in the bank, and we were also, though, typically I'd look at the accounts and I'd be like, all right, thankfully March is here because we're going to start making money, March Madness and spring, all these different things, St. Patrick's Day. And so that didn't happen. I would say that we were gearing up to get busy, and we were seeing certain places get really busy and start picking up, and then it just sort of, I think the first week we saw, when you could tell something was happening, we saw that sales drop maybe 20-25%, and then the next week it was 50%. Not in the neighborhoods though. Mostly that was in the Loop, and
steady.
It's so yeah. I mean, it was just our shattered expectations. Every year, Greg and I are like, "This is the year."
This was the year. We were in better financial position this year than ever before, and feeling really, really good about everything for the first time in a long time, just because of the amount of work that we put into the structure of the company and the people and everything. It was just we're finally feeling like we're really hitting on all cylinders and covering all the things that we hadn't been covering in a long time because we were spread so thin. Right. We're like, hell yes, we've got this. And then, boop. But at the same time, because of all that, we felt like you're never prepared or ready for something like this, but we're the most prepared we could possibly be for something like this to happen, which has been very comforting. And the nights that you aren't crying yourself to sleep, you feel good because we have people with the two of us that are, and not just the leadership team, but so many people in this company that we're all ready to take on whatever comes at us.
What was your thought process on do we stay open? Which concepts do we stay open? Is it more of a business decision? Is it more of a health decision? And how do those two things kind of come together?
For me, like Roots is a no-brainer. We're built, our infrastructure is built for delivery and carry out. So it wasn't any change in what we were doing. We didn't have to learn anything or sign up for something or figure it out. That was a no-brainer for us. And with the other concepts, though, is sort of like Westtown Bakery is a unique. That was probably when we were talking about figuring something out, maybe. But we're also a wholesale bakery, so a lot of our businesses that we sell to haven't paid us. And we looked at it, and it's like, well, do we want to potentially risk not being able to reopen because we lose so much money, trying to figure it out, just sell enough coffee and pastries to pay a $40,000 mortgage? No, probably not. So with the other ones, the mentality was, let's close them unless they're geared to do delivery and carry out, and just save the bank account.
Yeah.
Just save it. We started paying bills with our credit card just to buy us some more time. And we're a company that's always on time with our bills. Unless you miss an invoice, something, we're known for that. So, we just we looked at it and said it's more important that we reopen properly than try to spread this out and potentially not reopen.
Yeah.
And I think that, I look at the industry and I've heard all these various numbers on X amount won't reopen this. Nobody really knows.
No.
I think, though, that what you'll see, and we were fortunate, we got approved for the PPP funds. We haven't received them, but at some point we will. We just kind of look down the road, and it's like, yeah, we'll be able to come back from this if we're smart and conservative. And him and I aren't really taking much of a paycheck home. We're covering our mortgage. We're not taking nothing by no means, but that's coming out of the company's reserves. And we're also the first ones that have to put money in if we don't have enough money to reopen a concept.
And all of the 18, 19 are all going to open back up at some point? Right?
They will, but here's the thing, Steadfast, for example, we won't open all 3 meal periods right at once. We'll start with lunch, and we'll see how that goes, and it'll be like reopening a brand new restaurant. And to a certain extent, that's why we're really fortunate that Roots is still open, and also the foundations and the charities that have been supporting Westtown Bakery and 50/50, because those places, it won't be like having to reopen.
Yeah, a week or two, that's one thing, but your staffs at this point, I don't know, are they waiting for the job back? Have they gotten other jobs back? Do they want their job back? If you're trained to hire new people?
I think most of them want it. We've been communicating, doing, videos or emails.
Right.
But there's some people that would prefer not to be around because they just maybe have underlying health conditions, or they just want to be,
Yeah, or they go back to a family member that might have those conditions, so they...
Right.
We'll be able to reopen our place a little easier because we're still working, whereas some of our other concepts, we're talking about doing friends and family again.
We've got to get some reps under us again. And you're right, we want everyone that worked for us to come back, but we don't know if that's going to be the case. So we don't know if we're going to have to train people or what's going to happen.
So you said you are doing some video chats, or you're talking, you're making sure...
We try to update everyone. We just a couple days ago, we did a video to send out to everyone. We're going to do, every week or 10 days or so, try to do an update video and just tell people what's going on. We have been in a lot of contact with everyone as far as what to do for unemployment, what to do, all of those things. Those are, what emails become emails. We want to be a little more personal. So we, our GMs have been reaching out to their people to talk directly. The operators above them have been talking to the GM or talking to them. So we're trying to be in as much contact as we can with
letting them know about coming here, picking up.
That was a huge point of our last video is we're not seeing a lot of you guys come for these meals, and that's the whole reason that we got on board with this thing, is because we want to take care of you guys first, and so there's a lot of pride, there's a lot of those things, and we stress to them, keep your money in the bank, come get the food, it's here for you, it's good food, plus though we can't hang out, it would be nice to see people, it's nice to say hi, and it's...
We're still subsidizing health insurance.
Great.
April, we're doing it in May.
Right.
June, if it goes that much longer, we're closed. I don't know. Then I don't know if we'll be able to subsidize, but I mean, that's a lot of money out every month. So we're trying. We know some people. I mean, we at least hope they'll want to come back.
Right.
And so, what do you envision the new normal to look like when you do reopen? I mean,
Honestly, I think it depends on which area. Like, for example, if you at Utopian Tailgate, if you open that door today and said, "Hey, we're open with no restrictions," that place would be jammed. That age group and those they just want to party, And in some of the neighborhoods, a little bit different, with families and things like that. I think people will be a little bit more conservative on the distancing and things like that. But I think it's just it's trying to predict people's behavior, and we have no idea. We know we're going to have social distancing and things like that. We know that we're going to be extremely safe and sanitary. We're going to, we'll be wearing masks in the kitchen, and if we have to wear masks out in front, we'll be doing that. We'll go above and beyond what needs to be done to make people feel safe and secure, but we can't change their behavior just to get them in the door. So we'll see.
I'm so happy about The Last Dance right now because it's
something else to talk about.
Well, honestly, I think they're saying 25 of 30 topics on Twitter yesterday was The Last Dance.
Finally,
Yeah.
Finally,
Yeah.
right? And the thing about what I've seen through this is the public psyche can change over a weekend because everyone's just sitting there watching and waiting for the latest coronavirus update. So the way you felt 2 weeks ago, oh yeah, we're gonna be back at it in 2 weeks, and it just takes one weekend of a news cycle, and you're like, oh man,
Either way,
Right.
antibodies don't mean anything anymore, or Fauci said this, or so I'm maintaining optimism, but I don't know. I think that you can have 3 days of good news out in New York, and everyone's gonna be like, all right, we're back, or you can hear something happened in South Korea, and everyone's like, all right, well, we're not open until November.
The challenge is because we don't know how many people, we don't know what kind of staff to have on. So we could potentially lose more money after we open than being closed. If we have all the staff on, all this food in, all these things, and people aren't coming, it's gonna be rough, and it's gonna be slow for a while. We know that.
The landlord's not going to lower your occupancy rate by 50% because the city says you can only have half the people in.
Right.
And your phone bill doesn't go down 50%.
Right.
You can't just turn on 50% of your lights. That would look weird. So I mean, there's issues with it. I mean, there's the best what everybody would hope for, and just everybody just stay home until there's zero virus. But then there's reality, and trying to find a place in between that is, I think, what the government's trying to do right now. And hopefully they'll get it right. If they don't, then
we'll figure it out. We'll just figure it out day by day. He and I talk every single day, and what do we do here? And we just figure it out.
So when you're going through a tragedy, you want to push off some of those big decisions, let's see what happens.
I think it's just don't make decisions too early. Don't, and then you feel like you have to stick to that because you made a decision. You have to be fluid. You have to go with the flow, and you have to accept the fact that you're going to make a lot of wrong decisions and just fix them
as fast as possible.
As fast as you can.
And I think it's important for consumers to know that you guys are wearing masks and gloves. When I walked in here, everyone was masked up.
You're lucky we let you in here. We don't let anyone from the outside in.
They basically, I'm like, oh, but
but that's the only way we can make sure that we're not getting infected, or after we sanitize this place, that someone isn't bringing it in.
Right.
Sure.
We temp people, and we have to do that, and I don't see that going away.
So you are taking temps.
Every
taking
staff
temps of
member,
all of our staff. We have a log. Everyone gets logged. Everyone
delivery drivers.
And I think it's one thing that some of you restaurants are doing, but not everybody. And my advice would be make sure people know that.
Yeah.
Because that goes a long way. Actually, we've done a post on our social media about helping get restaurants that didn't have online ordering, getting them up to speed and whatnot. And somebody made a comment about I don't feel safe at these restaurants, and so kind of well, let's make sure we're showing those pictures of the gloves and the masks.
Yeah.
Let them know that we're taking temperatures.
Absolutely.
It's a big deal, but once again, that's the psyche, right? People, you hear good news, and people might not care in 3 weeks. Who knows?
Right.
I mean, we're going to continue doing it, but
Right.
what's one thing I'll say is our restaurants are in relatively affluent or gentrified neighborhoods, right? So Roots is doing well because our neighbors can still support us. Where there's a lot of restaurants that are in other parts of the city that, like, everyone around them's out of work.
Yeah.
So, it's just a weird, for me, it's just a weird, not to like run off topic, but it's just a weird place to be, is like these PPP loans and everything. Like,
Right.
we're proud that we've been able to grow the business and do all this, and reality is like that money is so important for us to be able to reopen. It's one of the reasons I know we'll reopen on solid footing. So, the people that aren't as fortunate to get that capital are going to have some bigger challenges, and I think that if they don't have access to the banks like we did, like they have other challenges. So
Right.
there is going to be a big change to this landscape after we go, and hopefully the government will figure out a way to take care of that, so it's not just restaurants in neighborhoods like ours that
Sure.
are able to reopen.
And you've probably thought through this. A lot of the question and concern about the PPP loans is that you can get them, but then you have to start spending it right away. But you might not be opening for a few weeks. So you're almost like, could we just start? Like,
Right.
if people, it's better for them to be on unemployment and then make a clean break versus like, all right, we can pay you for these 8 weeks and then you go back on unemployment.
Agreed, and safer.
Yeah.
Plus, I mean, what's the worst thing that happens right now without any guidance is you run through that money and then lay people off again.
Right.
That doesn't make sense. So.
So it wasn't really written necessarily with restaurants in mind, and how that money could be hugely beneficial and necessary, but maybe the timing and some of the rules might not.
I think they'll figure it out. I think that they're working on some stuff to maybe figure it out, but.
And we're hoping to hear sometime this week of them voting on refunding that for
Yeah.
a lot of us who applied and
Correct.
never got that check.
We were lucky enough. Scott is extremely on top of all things like that, and had applications sent the minute it yeah. So, and but that's you have people that are we're part of a bigger corporation. I hate saying corporation, but a bigger group that we can do that. You have a lot of people that are just trying to day by day figure out all the things and survive, and then they got to figure out the application process and all the things, and it's hard.
Yeah.
It's not fair.
It's not, and I'm on that side, the smaller side, where like I was hustling all day trying to work for my clients and get their stuff done, and so I was a couple days late on some of those application things.
Yeah.
So, and then that's like, all right, now I've got to start clicking on links and reading, and
Yeah.
it was a lot of work.
It's a lot of work in an already time where everyone's like stressed to the max.
So when they go, 14 years worth of SBA, loans in 14 days. I mean, great. I don't care. You also shut down. You told
Right.
you told businesses to close.
Right.
Not saying it wasn't the right decision, but don't use that excuse as like, oh, well, that's why this mom and pop's going to shut down and somebody's life's dream is going to be shattered.
Yeah.
And they're going to have to go bankrupt. It doesn't work for me.
No. So even though we got those funds, we're fighting extremely hard for that to be changed, and we're doing everything that we can, whether it be social media or Scott's on the Illinois Restaurant Association board. We are going to champion that as much as possible, because it isn't fair, and it wouldn't be okay for us. Oh, we got ours. We're good. We're going to sit back and relax.
And that's a great point. Like, they did rush it through. Now it's like, how can we fix this? How do we we've learned things, we thought of different things. How do we make sure that this works for everybody, not leave anybody behind? Because they made it for small businesses, but the smaller you are, the less likely you got help from it.
Correct.
And so that's
Well, and you knew like the Ruth's Chris and now Shake Shack's giving back their money, like
Right.
So there's been a lot of things that have come out to bring attention to just like sometimes how unfair the system can be.
yeah.
And we know what that's like. We've had one restaurant, and just trying to navigate through Chicago at one point was hard enough.
Yeah.
Right. And the thing is, it's they can make it right. They can say, we messed this up. We're gonna make it right, and they can do that.
They just have to. It should be an easy thing for both parties to agree on, like reopening business.
The fact that you even said both parties agree on is the biggest. That's a hurdle.
I hadn't said that sentence in a while.
Yeah. But I think the problem is like they agree with the core part, but then it's like, what else can we add? And
Right.
that's the frustrating part. It's like, guys, put that aside.
Right.
Let's get that you can discuss that in another round, but don't hold up these funds for any of these ulterior motives.
Right.
Yeah.
So if people, I know you guys got a lot of mouths to feed today, so if people want to find out more about the 50/50 Restaurant Group and all your concepts, they should go to...
Our main page is the 5050group.com.
Yeah, so it's spelled out, the word 50, then the number 50group.com.
Yeah, so you can search us on the internet, and probably a third-party delivery site will come up, but then we'll be like the fourth page down.
Yeah. Well, all the third-party delivery companies.
Yeah.
Then yeah.
Yeah, we'll be the fourth one down. Yeah, it shows all of our concepts, our partners, some of our mission statements, our loyalty program. You can buy gift cards there, and then I think right now the most information on the foundations is probably on Westtown Bakery's site.
It's linked on all of them.
It's linked on all of them.
So if people need help, if they're not in the restaurant industry, if they're a community member, they should go to the 50/50.
Just show up. Show up. Just if you need help, come to Westtown or come to 50. We're going to help you.
Thank you guys for doing that. Thank you for jumping in. Obviously, you're doing something right. This is not an easy business. You're doing well. You're succeeding almost unbelievably well. I mean, the fact that you can open that many concepts, kudos to you. I know that must come with a lot of hard work, dedication, and always a little bit of luck. But, yeah, it'll take a little bit of luck, but keep it up, and thank you for giving back. By the time we air this show, the 50/50 Restaurant Group will have handed out 25,000 meals to those in need. If you could use a meal, head over to the 50/50 Sports Bar at 2047 West Division Street in Chicago from 4 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. every day except Monday. Or to get a meal and groceries, head over to the Westtown Bakery and Diner at 1916 West Chicago Avenue from 4 to 6:30 p.m. every day. This pickup is created specifically for you, the restaurant industry, but as Scott and Greg mentioned, if anyone needs it, they should just come, no questions asked. And if you want to donate, go to givebutter.com/5050food. That's the word 50 followed by the number 50, then food. Or go to the leeinitiative.org. That's LEE initiative.org. Or go to the World Central Kitchen site at wck.org. To get this info and links to these programs and more, head over to our website at gettappedin.io/what'sontap. And I just want to say thank you and keep up the good work to Scott, Greg, and their entire team over there at the 50/50 Concepts. And thank you to everyone else who supports these initiatives through their time or money. Cheers.
If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to our podcast and follow us on Instagram and Twitter at get_tapped and Facebook at facebook.com/get_tapped-in. You can also send us an email with questions, feedback, or show ideas from our website, gettappedin.io, or send us a DM on Instagram or Facebook.
The show is produced by me and edited by Rebecca Turley. Our AV technician was Nadine Lomaton, with marketing by Caitlin Kavanaugh. Until next time, take care of each other and stay healthy.